All right, let's answer some questions. Here's one from Facebook. If you don't have access to a professor and can't afford a professional editor, how can amateur writers have their work looked over or reviewed? Well, ideally, what you do at some point in your writing career is decide to invest a bit in it and find somebody who will edit it professionally. And in a lot of cases, this is an incredibly reasonable cost that you will pay. It won't be nothing, but if you want somebody who's really skilled and want to support their craft, which is honing your craft, then you're willing to pay somebody to do this at some point. In the meantime, though, if this is just something that you're considering, it's a lark, you're doing it on an amateur level, it's still just a hobby, you're not sure if you want to really invest in it, I would recommend finding some writing buddies, either other people who are writers who are willing to look at your work, and then you look at their work, and that way you're exchanging time for time and opinion for opinion, and you can trade red marks on each other's work. Or you go and find somebody who is willing to be an alpha reader. And this is what I've done, and this is what I do still today in combination with professional editors. I will find people who are willing to read my work and willing to give my opinion, or give their opinion rather, on what I've written, and we'll go through and either give me big picture feedback, or we'll find typos, or find grammar stuff, and then I combine this with somebody who I actually pay to go in and do the nitty-gritty editing work. And I find the combination of the two is a really strong combination because it gives you an overview, like somebody else's opinion, just another set of eyes at first. But then you can go in and have somebody who really, on a professional level, knows what they're doing too. Check it out. Now, the best way to find some people like this is to find maybe an online community. You can do this through social media, like Twitter. You can go and find a group of people who are talking about books or a group of other indie authors and just reach out and see if they're willing. If you want, you can find the Asymmetrical Community, which is Asymmetrical Press, the company that I co-founded. Asymmetrical Press Community on Facebook. You can go in there and just reach out and say, hey, anybody want to be an alpha reader? I will be an alpha reader for you. And chances are somebody will say, yeah, totally, because it's a group of authors as well. Whatever the case, you do want to know what you're looking for going into it. So whoever you find to read your work, whether it's somebody that you're paying as a professional editor, or an alpha reader of some kind, or just getting generalized feedback from friends and family, which is not the best way to do it because they might pull their punches because they don't want you to feel bad, and you want someone who will make you feel bad, or at least not be afraid of making you feel bad. But either way, whatever the case may be, you want to know what you're looking for, and so give a little set of instructions to people when you email them. Tell them you're looking for big picture feedback, you're looking for typos, you're looking for whatever, and then send them a format that they can use. And typically this will be a PDF or a Word document or something along those lines. If you use Scrivener, which is my hands-down favorite piece of software for publishing, then you're in a good spot because you can export your work as whatever file type you want. And so the people who want to read it on their Kindle and to take notes separately can do that. The people who want to read it in Word and take notes within Word can do that as well. And you're set for whomever you happen to have looking over your words. But I guess the concise answer is to find some people who are willing to take a look at your work, offer what you can in return, whether that's money or your own eyes on their work, and make sure that you are clear on what it is that you're looking for and what you're trying to accomplish. That way you're able to get the work done, but you're also not wasting anybody's time by being wishy-washy about what they're supposed to be looking for. Here's another writing-related question. How can I make a living as a writer? This is a big question because there's a lot of different types of writer. There's a lot of different types of people writing professionally, but also a lot of different models for writing in terms of making a living from it. I personally make my living off of my books. I make essentially my full-time living off of just selling a product, and this product is my books. It's a bunch of different products. And so that's the way that I make my living as a writer, whereas somebody else might sell their writing as more of a service. They might be a travel writer, for example, or a writer for the Huffington Post or something along those lines. In those cases, these people write regular pieces, maybe long pieces, maybe short pieces, whatever it happens to be, and then they are paid more like a paycheck model, or they're paid per click or paid based on the audience that they accumulate for their writing. There's a lot of different models within this scene right now. And you have to decide, I guess, first what type of writing you want to do in terms of genre. Do you want to do nonfiction writing? Do you want to do like long format journalistic nonfiction writing? Do you want to do short and concise pieces that are just little bits of news? Do you want to tell stories? Do you want to write short fiction? Like, what is it that you're trying to accomplish? That's the first thing to figure out. What genre of writer are you? And then figure out what business model makes the most sense. Typically, you can make more faster if you hire out your writing as a service. So if you become a travel writer or a writer for BuzzFeed or something like that, you could conceivably make more money faster because you write and then you get paid pretty much. Whereas writing books and writing things that turn into products that you sell over time is completely dependent on how many parcels, how many pieces you sell, and then you have to wait for the payment for those sales to come in, and it's more of a long-term process, and it's not something that you can just say, okay, I want to make some money today, I'm going to write a book, and then you have money. No, there's a very, very long process involved. And so a lot of people find that a combination of the two works best, and that means doing some writing as a service and then some writing in terms of creating a long-term product, so that that product will be sold whether or not you're actually online and actively selling it, and then you can earn a lump sum of money whenever you want by writing a service type of writing. So that's something to consider, is the hybrid model of the two. When I started writing professionally, I tried a little bit of both and found that the product version, the writing of books, made more sense for me, the type of stuff that I like to write, the type of lifestyle that I like to live, that type of thing. But I know other people for whom it's completely the opposite. People who are not a big fan of the book writing process, and they like to whittle down a really nice, concise piece and submit it and be done with it and then move on to something else and then get paid for it immediately as well. So that's something that you really have to consider. Big picture stuff, regardless of which model you're doing or if you're doing a combination of the two, you're going to want to consider who your audience is and then ideally get as close to that audience as possible. And what I mean by getting close to that audience is that if you're writing for, say, BuzzFeed, it's possible that BuzzFeed will be your audience. They will have a great big audience that draws people in to read your writing, but they're not coming to read you, they are coming to read BuzzFeed. And so what you want to do, either in the short term or the long term as a goal with your writing, is to make sure that people know who you are, to know what to expect with your writing, so that then over time your words gain value. You are not just a commodity, you are not replaceable, because you write in such a way that only you can write that way, or only you can do it well. And so you want to build a name for yourself, you want to build connections between you and your audience, and as you do this, whether it's through gaining likes or gaining followers or just gaining a reputation for good work that people share, the more you do this, the better negotiating position you're in, and the more options you will have in terms of how you hire out your services or what types of products you produce. If you want to write a book or something in the future, want to teach a class maybe in the future, you've got all kinds of options if you are able to get in touch and close the gap between you and your audience. It also gives you a lot of options in terms of improving your writing, because suddenly feedback is immediate. People will know how to reach you, and as a result, you can get another set of eyes on your work pretty much constantly whenever you like. You just say, hey, did you guys like my work? And rather than them just saying, BuzzFeed, I hated this article, they'll say, hey, you in particular, you author, this is what I think about your work. And that can be incredibly valuable. Sometimes it's not, sometimes it's bullshit, but sometimes it's incredibly valuable. Hope you found these answers useful. If you want to ask your own question for me to answer in a future video, feel free to leave it in the comments below. You can also reach out on other social networks of all kinds and flavors and sizes at Colin is my name, and you can find out more about me and my work, my books, for example, at colin.io.